Uh, cool. We are now recording. Awesome. So thanks everyone for coming to another meeting. From here, I think we can get started with the agenda. So I will go ahead and pull it up. Does anyone have initiative updates? Sounds like a no. That's a first. Any CBC or board updates?
Let's see. So CPC, what the heck have we been doing lately? I don't know why, but whenever I need to give an update, my mind totally blanks on CPC. So elections are happening, which I know we have an agenda item for that. What else have we been working on? Why am I blanking? Michael, can you help me out here?
Yep, I'm just going to get a good list. Hold on. So I know I'm just getting that right this second. So I can, one more second and I'll have a nice, right. So one of the recent things that was mentioned is the OpenJS Foundation is looking for new content for the blog, in particular deep technical content. So if people have any things that they'd like to add or suggest, looking for that. They're also looking, and this came out of the recent marketing committee meeting, they're also looking for developer profiles. So again, it's kind of like, here are some profiles of developers using and applying Node.js. So if you have some content or suggestions along that front, again, you can reach out to Rachel, who's here with us. It was mentioned around Mac OS and notarization. There's a request going out to the projects to see if it makes sense for the foundation to manage certificates that we would use. So, in our case, for example, it would be that the Node.js binaries were signed potentially from a foundation certificate versus a node-specific certificate. This has come out of work in that, for Node, we had to renew our Mac OS certificates. We got the foundation to help, and it was like, well, maybe it just makes sense for them to manage those completely and projects not even to have to worry about them. For us, we have our certificates, so it's not really an urgent thing. But if the other projects do show a strong interest, we may move towards single certificate that we could use across projects, unless people have some concerns with that. We're looking to populate the code of conduct panel, and Node.js as a project can optionally provide a representative. As an impact project can optionally provide a representative. I think we should. Discussion in the TSC meeting was that we should probably reach out to the moderation team to see if there's anybody from there who would like to participate. It's not expected to be a large amount of work because this panel is more to handle escalations. So we don't expect those to be that frequent. There's continuing activity on the projects joining, no blockers that we're aware of. On the standards team front, they're in the process of being chartered, so there'll actually be a separate chartered working group. With mostly the authority area delegated from the CPC is around supporting groups and people who want to go to the standards meetings, but also very specifically, just a second, very specifically choosing and approving our candidates who are going to go to the standards meetings. And then the last thing to mention on that front is probably I've opened an issue on the proposal for a collaboration network. This looks to formalize a process where we would add what I'm calling collaboration areas. We'll see if that's, or collaboration spaces. I'm not sure if that'll be the final name, but just like projects can join the foundation, my concept is that we could have groups join the foundation to form a collaboration area so that they can work together on a particular area, be that security, there's all sorts of different topics, but it's to provide a way to say, hey, we think this is important to the JavaScript community. We want to collaborate and get some support and resources from the foundation to be able to do that. thinking on the CPC front, that's most of what I had. On the board front, there hasn't been a meeting, I don't think, since our last, I actually can't remember, maybe it has been since our last meeting. The main thing to kind of point out is that on the question of project directed funding, there's a number of aspects on that, but on the aspect of member foundation, like foundation member companies wanting to donate funds to a particular project. So for example, we had some company and they wanted to give extra money to Node. The board has agreed and documented guidance on that front. It's such that you can't direct your membership dues, but if you want to contribute additional money above those membership dues, that guidance documents how you can do that and to what limit you can do that. It is set up so that you can't necessarily decide to choose to join at a lower membership level and then direct the rest of the money to a particular project. It's meant to encourage it to be, you've joined the foundation at the appropriate level, and if you want to contribute in addition, this is the way you can do that. So that link I can paste into the chat here, and I'll add it to the minutes. That's what I had. I don't know if that, Joe,
Yeah,
took your memory of anything else.
you did a great job. Thank you,
Thanks.
Mike. Tierney, you're on mute.
My bad. Sorry.
Good.
Awesome. Any additional initiative updates, or any other updates around, ComCom work? Okay. In that case, we can move to the agenda. I'm reeling from shock of not having updates. So, first agenda item is create Node.js examples repository. I posted an update in this earlier today. I have a local proof of concept that I'm just working to make sure that it's going to work how I kind of communicated it would before I go ahead and create this. And I want to be slow on creating it rather than fast on creating it, like creating it and then having nothing, mostly because I don't want people to start PRing stuff and like not have the structure, the seeds at least of that structure there. So just getting that working locally to make sure it's, doing what it should. So the architecture is going to be interesting. I think all dependencies are going to be in the root, and then each app is going to be in a subdirectory. And then, you just run jest with the only changed flag, and then have file specific tests as a way to make sure it's maintainable and that we're not like messing things up, right? Or that things aren't breaking. So that's an intentional kind of setup, and it is relatively complex, but it's something I want to do to make sure that like the quality of those examples is maintainable over time, and we're able to figure out why things are breaking and address them rather than having them kind of become stale, while also not hampering the potential to add them and then get bogged down by like other people's flaky tests. So yeah, that's something that I'm working on, hoping to have that proof of concept up today. And if that's running in my personal repo, I will go ahead and create examples repo and push that initial code into it. And pop up a README and that stuff, and then it should be good from there. I also hope to maybe have some some examples. I will be able to create a couple, but over the next few weeks, being in quarantine or self-quarantine. But yeah, if once that is up, if people have examples, like if you're if you love Fastify or Express or Restify or some specific CLI framework or something else, I would be happy to, sorry, I'm promoting the lead, apologies. I'd be happy to help with that, and help you get that through, and hopefully build a large sample of examples. So that's just the status update on that. Any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns?
Hey, Tierney, this is Rachel. No
Yeah.
concerns or anything like that, but for just kind of promoting this more widely, is this an opportunity to do some, and I'm looking to you for timing on this, but either like a blog post on the collection or social, social stuff pointing folks that this is happening. I'm not sure what timing would be for that.
I think so. I think that we would want to have, I try not to send people to like something that's empty. So I think we would want to have some examples up there first. That also kind of provide a template of how you can create an example. And make sure we have that stuff up. But I think that's yes. The answer is yes. And I will. I'm happy to sync up with you on that and kind of figure those details out.
Excellent. I'm just gonna make a note of it on my own.
Cool.
To-do list, just to kind of keep it top of mind. But awesome. This is cool.
Yeah.
It probably makes sense to give people some time to create examples and so forth, just so that if there's a bunch that people want to get in, they all benefit from the promotion cycle.
Right. Totally makes sense.
Tierney, do you have a main example to follow as an example on how to create example?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have that in the README. I will be definitely including that, and then I am not gonna ship it with 0 examples. I'm gonna create 1 or 2, like a simple Commander app, and then like something else. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how to test a web server. Like I've not written tests for like Express or Pacify before, so that's going to be an interesting one that I might not try to bite off right now. But like, build something else that can be tested, and have that as an example. Have a few of those just so you can look and you can have what I'm kind of aiming at. And of course, like I am saying and what I'm aiming at and what I want to do. This is, of course, a community committee initiative, and I just want to get it up and running into a place that it's like in the direction that I communicated. If the initiative if the folks who get involved in it want to change that and kind of completely deviate from my intent with it, that's totally fine. I just want to kind of get it up and running. And I don't want to be like a BDFL of this. So yeah, yes, but there will be examples and things like that.
I'll be glad to help.
Yay, glad to hear that. Cool. Anything else on this? Cool. With that, I think we can move on to the next agenda item. 1 second, just doing the user management stuff. I really wish Zoom made this easier for webinars. Okay, next agenda item is additional org owned by Node.js project for package maintenance team. This is a request from the package maintenance team under the TSC. This would increase the scope of what Node.js owns. I don't know, I'm frozen. Can you all hear me? Okay, cool.
Yep, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this would increase the scope of kind of what Node.js owns into the PKG.js. There you go, I got it. GitHub org. I've commented on this. I would encourage y'all to comment on this. And I guess one thing I should ask now, this has been open for a sufficiently long amount of time. Does anyone have blocking, so like -1 concerns or comments on this? And I guess I'm asking this of ComCom members.
Yep.
You do?
Sorry, no. I mean, yes.
Okay.
From the ComCom members.
Sorry.
Yeah, like I'd opened this. I tagged this issue both for the ComCom agenda and the TSC agenda. There's been discussion. It would be good to get to closure in terms of like, are there concerns to the extent where it's like, no, we don't want to do it. In the TSC meeting this week, it seemed like there weren't any, so we actually took it off the agenda. And I had the last action to make sure that here at the ComCom side, we have a discussion and figure out, do we want to continue the discussion in the GitHub issue, you know, and just facilitate anything today that could help moving that towards conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, I personally raised my own kind of thoughts on it there. I don't think they should be blocking, but I you know, I'm personally, you know, -0 on it. But I don't think they should be blocking. So if there's no other, and again, we don't necessarily have consensus, but, or quorum, sorry. But if there's no other comments, I will ping the Node group, or sorry, ComCom group, and perhaps if by Monday nobody has responded, we can consider that a no objections.
Yep, I think that works.
Do we want to just quickly go over like what the pros and cons are here? I mean, I'm scrolling through it. I've read through it a little bit in the past, but I see your concerns, Tierney. Like, I guess what's the positive to going to a new org, and you know, why wouldn't, I don't know, what's the next?
There's a couple I can talk to those, having been in the discussions with the team itself. I mean, I think the core reason there, the request is for separate org versus, you know, repos in the Node.js organization itself. The first one is around some concern over making these tools and things that the package maintenance team is going to be developing and experimenting with seem too official. And you know, with the concern being, once it's under the Node.js org, it kind of seems like, well, this is the way the project's going, and it might discourage other experimentation. There has been the counterpoint to that has been raised that, you know, it may end up being similar in terms of officialness or non-officialness if this repo is owned by the project anyway, but it does provide some separation. The other one is that the team may be looking to be chartered / delegated some responsibility over management of the creation of repos in that organization, as opposed to necessarily having to go through the regular process of requesting each individual organization. The other aspect is it does provide some grouping in terms of, you know, it shows the sort of projects that are being looked at by and sort of managed by the package maintenance team versus the just the large set that we have already underneath the org. I'm trying to think if there's any main things that I've called out. Some of the discussion in the issue along the side is some of the comments that have been made have been, and I'll let Tierney, he can mention his, the other side is that there seems to be some sentiment that we just happen to have had a single org, that not necessarily that that's what we've planned or thought we would always have. So adding a separate organization may, you know, is not that big a deal, and it's not in fact anything different than we may have done, just it's actually the first time we're doing it. You know, I think the downsides, and Tierney can chime in as well, is like, you know, it's another place for, you know, moderation to go look, have to go look. And, you know, we've managed in the single org, so why can't we continue to do that is kind of the.
I see some mention of OpenJS. One thought that comes to mind is, and you know, if we've got an agenda that we want to get to, I don't want to, you know, bike shed too much on this at the moment, but could this be a collaboration space, and then, you know, kind of still fall under some obvious governance? And I don't know what that.
It's potential. There's two concerns I'd have with that. Sorry, is one, the OpenJS Foundation doesn't have, it's not quite as ramped up on the moderation side of things, which is one of the sort of goals that the team also had, is to like make it clear how these repos would be moderated, and we're not quite as far along on the OpenJS side in terms of that. And the other thing is there is synergy with the Node project specifically here in terms of the well, actually no, I was thinking of the web frameworks team. So that's not impossible too. I think that just might be a bigger change from where we're at now.
Yeah, just it seems to me that we're developing some processes around this sort of thing for OpenJS, whereas with Node.js, it's a little bit of a branch off from previous work, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I disagree.
It's the first time we're doing it for sure.
I think that the specific, like the package maintenance team, their work is very relevant to Node, and I think it's very fundamental and important to what Node is doing in terms of being a better community member, like participant in the community, and helping kind of create spaces that are spaces and understanding and context that is shared across the community, having an avenue from the community in terms of like projects that have that need certain things or are looking for certain guidance. Node has typically been very disconnected from that, and not necessarily in the like community sense of community, but more in the ecosystem sense of projects have things need from Node. I think that ejecting it up into the OpenJS Foundation would be more detrimental than positive. I can totally see how it could make sense. I think the specific the reason that team exists is very important to keep within Node. Or at least that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, my opinion is like we're still figuring out what will make sense in the different places. So I'm in no rush to try and move from one to the other. Because like there is synergy with the Node project in many cases, and so it's not that everything would make more sense at the OpenJS Foundation.
So, sorry to interrupt you, Michael.
Yeah, I guess I was just going like I'd rather not rush to move up versus staying where it is, and I so that we can, like in this case, I agree with Tierney that there's definitely synergy with being closer to the project as well.
Is it the case that the what's being proposed here, that the package maintenance team itself and the work that it's doing would remain in the Node.js org in terms of like as a team, whereas the code and the packages and the tooling that may be spun out of the work would exist in this other repo?
That is correct.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't not make sense to me. And I think as long as like things are clearly documented as to where the governance is and where the code of conduct and moderation and all those sorts of things lie, then that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think we thought it would be relatively straightforward changes to our governance, which would just say, like in the GitHub organization management, we may just need to mention multiple organizations. And in fact, we already have a couple. Like we do have a private org for managing security vulnerabilities and stuff. So actually, it probably should already list the couple. Thinking about it.
Yeah, and just my comments in the thread, are addressing the points that were raised, and I personally don't feel like any of them are like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like any of them are necessary. Like watchers, so like the three that were raised, watchers, which is like people who watch the org. We already have hundreds of repositories. Creating more isn't going to be a problem. Like if people are already concerned about that, it's something that they would have voiced. And I don't necessarily think that's problematic. Scope of the org, and what they're doing, it's already scoped to what we're doing. Like I don't necessarily see that as the scope is the same. And that's not a necessarily convincing argument to me or reason. And the naming of, mismatching the scope that they're using on npm to the scope that is they're publishing to the org. I see. As someone who publishes way too many things, I very much feel that need for purity. I also, in this case, don't necessarily think it matters that much. Like it's again not a significant enough reason to me. Like that's my perspective to add the increased overhead for moderation and for the TSC and for ComCom. To have a different org. Now, it's totally fine if people disagree with me, and I'm not going to block on those. But I personally disagree that this is a necessary thing that needs a different org. Now, the one thing that Michael brought up that I do very much, very painfully respect is the organization ownership and like creating repos in a less structured way and being able to manage those and manage like bots in them. I've tried many times to add bots to the org and have been told no many times because of like access to Node Core and stuff. So I understand that one and can sympathize with that. So yeah, those were the points that were brought up and the ones I addressed in the issue. The org ownership one I don't think was, or at least maybe I didn't see it in my response there. But yeah, I understand that one at least.
Yeah, that one I wonder if we actually got that in there. That came up and we've had several discussions in the package maintenance meeting, and I think that one came out maybe just in the last meeting where people were like, well, we might actually even want to ask for some delegated, authority to manage what's in there versus having to follow the regular process.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the discussions, and it's kind of like, I think it could work either way, but a number of the team believe, I think, relatively strongly that it's worthwhile to try this out, and I think in that context, I think it's a good idea.
Cool.
So I think the proposal was to, for if people have objections or want to continue discussion, to chime in the issue. If nobody does by Monday, then we'll consider it an okay. Is that still reasonable?
Yep.
I commented on that, so
sounds good.
We should
Thanks.
be good. Yep. And I just set 1 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, which is when this meeting theoretically ends on Monday. So that gives people like a full 72 or no more hours, 72 plus 24 math hours, 96. So if that's not, people don't get in by then, cool. He will presume resolved. Okay, next agenda item. So there is an agenda item that is not on this, but that I did update immediately prior to the meeting. I went through and created, so in the admin repo, there is the social discussion for Node.js social media accounts. This is issue 454 in it. I will paste the link in Zoom chat. Let's see here. Oh, yep, there you go. So I went through and created, the Electron team has run into some barriers with the API access stuff. So I've not been able to chase that down as effectively as I hoped. So while I'm still working with them, I went through and created the POC on my own GitHub repo and Twitter account. It took me 5 minutes. So it's very straightforward and a relatively good DX. I put all the links there, so the repo's there, the commit is there, the action run is there, and then the tweet itself is there. So if that should theoretically be unblocked from please give us a POC. and we can maybe perhaps continue that discussion. Michael, I know you've kind of been relatively active in this discussion. I'd love to get your thoughts on this, and of course, other people's as well.
Yeah, sorry. So there's a I'm just was looking on the agenda for the issue. I can't click.
Oh yes, it is not on the agenda yet.
Okay, okay, that's why I couldn't find it. Good.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So you've got a POC. So basically, okay. So direct commits triggered. Okay. So yeah, I'll take a look. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I got that in, since I know that's something that we've discussed in the past. And I'm just updating the agenda real quick to make sure we have that. Cool. I'm just adding the minutes. Cool. Next agenda item is Node.js Community Committee, Cross-Project Council, Node.js ComCom election. So the self-nomination and nomination period ended on March 16th. There was only one nomination, which was Joe, who is our current incumbent. I'm going to ping Node.js ComCom, but unless there's objections to him continuing that are like significant and blocking outside of I don't want him to run, you know, I think that is Joe has technically won it. So
It's a shitty job, but I'll keep doing it. I'm just kidding.
We appreciate the work you're putting in there.
Yes, we do very much so. Thank you for the last year, and here's to another year.
Cheers.
Cool.
What day did you say by? Unless.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I guess the 23rd, which is in a few days. So I believe that's the same Monday. I could be wrong. I don't have my calendar open. But yeah, the 23rd, like, actually, yeah, that's Monday, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I highly doubt there are going to be issues, but unless someone raises one during that time, like, there's no need to run a vote because there's no one to vote for. So, you know, if there's no major objections by then, I will update that.
That's what I did on the TSC side as well. It was like, okay, we'll consider them acclaimed unless there's objections by the state. That should get us in. I think we had an April 1st deadline for providing our CPC rep, so that's good.
Cool.
And I'll just say too, as a reminder, that you know, any of us can get involved in the cross-project council work as an observer or as a regular member. We follow the same sort of consensus-seeking model, and you know, I encourage folks to get involved. And you know, and that's a great way if anybody wants to, you know, run at a later date, then they can try it out and see, you know, the work and generally get involved.
Yeah, it's very rare that there's votes, so it makes very little difference.
Yeah, I have been participating as a regular member for quite a while. I attend the meetings as often as I can, and you know, my voice has generally been heard. My somewhat complaining voice has generally been heard. So yeah, you know, highly recommend if you're a contributor to Node in any way and you're interested in CPC, please join up as a regular member. I think ComCom of the projects in Node has the largest representation in the regular membership.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. Cool. Any thoughts, comments, anything else on that? Cool. I believe we can move on to the next agenda item, which, sorry.
I was sold. I will take a look into this CPC.
Cool. Awesome.
Excellent.
Cool. Next agenda item is update README with new process in the Node.js collection. Hello, Waleed, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. So from the last meeting, I couldn't do anything. I just couldn't find time because of new work home routine.
Yep.
So if someone can help, that would be really good. Otherwise, I'll make sure that I do it this week.
Cool.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Next agenda item is Node.js to Dev, subscribe to newsletter action. Does anyone here have context on that?
I guess Manil and Ben were involved in this, but if someone knows more, can take the word. Elsewhere, I would. If you tell me how to, or what's the behind, what sort of system we should behind the newsletters, then I can take care of the implementation on the Node.js dev side.
Rachel, do we still run the Node.js newsletter? The Node.js Everywhere specifically is what it was called. It seems like the last issue was 12/09, 2019. So actually that seems relatively recent.
So
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry,
Yeah, sorry.
And I've got some children in the background, so
that's totally fine.
Yeah, welcome to the new normal. So we are so the Node Everywhere newsletter with the merge to the OpenJS Foundation, we're exploring newsletter options more broadly. So we haven't put anything out since December. So there's nothing actively going on right now with that specific newsletter.
Okay. So if there's not a Node.js specific newsletter, I at least am not comfortable like recommending that we have people subscribe to the OpenJS Foundation newsletter on the Node.js website. That feels like mildly disingenuous and misleading.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that should probably come off if people want to. It's not even an OpenJS newsletter. We are sending out pertinent information around like foundation stuff. But it's not a newsletter. Like we're very much investigating what how we engage via email. So I say if that's something that needs to come off, I'm 100% okay with that.
Yeah. Cool. I believe someone else was also trying to say something while you were muted. Saleh, is it you?
Yeah. No, I guess that changed the context, so I'm good, thanks.
Okay, cool. So does Saleh or is it Laruna who's there, or Solo? Do one of y'all want to bring this back to that issue and say, hey, this for the ComCom meeting, this has been temporarily like the newsletter, like I'm really glad that we have that. The newsletter is like not, the current newsletter is not running, and that might change what we want to do, but like we might still want to use this, but
so we must hold for now the how can I say, until it's decided, we should hold for now the pull request on the user interface for this. Okay. I'm gonna update them.
Yeah. And I think it would be very nice for us to be able to collect this and like have some kind of outreach to people who are interested. Whether that's, there's ways to like, there's GitHub Actions that you can run that will create a roll up of an org or something else. Like, I think there's something to explore there. I think that that's probably something we can figure out after rather than during.
So just to clarify, so I did comment that we'll turn this UI feature off for now. Is that a good next step?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. I think that's perfect.
Okay, team.
But yeah, I think there's I think it would be nice to be able to do this, but at present, it is not something that we should go ahead and focus on. Unless if others disagree with me, that's totally valid.
Honestly, I don't even remember how we came up with the idea. It was just a part of Oscar's design.
Yeah.
We made it up at that time. I don't know, it was a year ago with Adam. And then nobody follow up with that, I guess. So
right
it's
now,
kind of forgotten piece.
Right now, there is on the Node.js website, the homepage, there is you look at our newsletter. That's literally like a link to it, which is interesting. But that link, like it, pulling that context, and it was active until December. It generally makes sense. So like I can see where it came from at least. But it does seem like even in the last 3 months that context has changed. So
yep. Should we bring up in the next meeting and try to discuss about what's the benefits and?
Yeah, I think that's potentially
right.
helpful. And do you mean the next website redesign meeting or the next ComCom meeting?
No, I mean next ComCom meeting.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good one. And I think going through and having an issue for that in the ComCom repo or in the website, the Node.js.dev repo would be ideal, just to track that.
Take comfort.
Cool. Would you be able to take that and creating that issue?
Yeah, I'm doing.
Awesome.
I'm doing
cool.
it right now.
Cool. Any other comments, thoughts, feedback on that?
Nope.
Cool. We can go ahead and move forward then. Oh, that was the last agenda item. Any final things? I have 2 things that are tiny, but
sorry, before we move on, there was the just adding one more member to the website redesign, which I added to the Google Doc. It's not on the issue yet. Sorry, I was adding the label just before the meeting.
Gotcha. Yeah, the label only pulls when the issue is created.
Yeah.
Who is it? I'm happy if you want to sync up with me after this, like via Slack, I'd be happy to just go ahead and do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no worries. Cool. Anything else?
We have a question about the. It's more like a discussion from the website redesign and other. We are currently today we are using GCB run to test the PRs. Some of us are questioning if it's possible to move to Netfly. It's Netfly, so I'm not sure.
Netlify.
Netlify. So
we've been experimenting with their CI complexity. So the bigger problem we're facing is that obviously we don't see the settings tab and the idea of floating around authority tokens. So we just don't know. The current team doesn't really have much insight on how to go about the necessary change that obviously comes with a little bit more administrative privilege and access. We will have a makeup hackathon because the last one last weekend was a little bit unorganized with time shifts. We would love to be able to, see if we can maybe make a new staging and configure it to Netlify instead of going the GCB route. Yeah, so we just weren't sure exactly what we would be asking for today.
So I think sorry, I was going to say, go ahead.
Go on, sorry.
I was just saying, I think one of the things that you're going to have to ask for, and I don't know if we went through, I don't know what the process we did was to go through getting GCB in here. And apparently we're just adding GitHub apps now. I didn't realize that we were able to do that. That changes a lot of things. There's several in there that I don't think were discussed. So there's a to-do there of what's the process for getting GitHub apps installed. But there is a pending GitHub app request for Netlify. GCB is in there. HackMD is in there, which I didn't realize was one that we installed. But yeah, this, the barrier that you're going to face is the GitHub app and getting approval for that. That's something I faced a lot before and have been repeatedly denied. So I would perhaps go to the GitHub the admin repo and ask there. That's going to be your biggest thing, is you have to get approval for adding the app and removing the GCP one.
Yeah, and it'll depend on privileges and what does that open up and everything versus the other one, I guess.
I'm shocked that we got GCB and HackMD in there. First of all, I didn't know we had HackMD in there, but yeah, we need to document the process for this because I don't think either of those went through like an approval process.
They certainly should have, yeah. If not,
yeah.
Then, because it's also, I expect that it may be that it was like okay, but only for this one repo, perhaps.
Yeah,
right?
it does look like it's only on Node.js tooling for HackMD, and then GCB, I'm guessing. So if we're fine limiting things, that changes a lot, and I think we should define that process because GCB is only available on Node.js.dev. So yeah, if we're allowed to do that, that changes a lot of how I would approach Node. Yeah, I think this is something we should. Do you know if there's a document for this, Michael?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Not really.
Like those two, to be honest, don't ring a bell. So I don't remember seeing a discussion or being in the loop at all on. Now I could have just forgotten because there's lots of stuff.
Yeah,
but
that was actually Miles just configuring everything so that it somehow works. I would suggest I contact Miles in the next website redesign meeting. We discussed about that, what we want to do next. If we want to move to some another provider, we discuss that and then open an issue in the admin repo and then follow up with that, because right now everything is a bit unclear.
Yeah, I mean, so what I would do is if you want to use Netlify, I would make sure that's something that the initiative wants, like get consensus on that, and then create an issue in admin asking for the Netlify GitHub app to be approved for that specific repo. And also, if you are turning off GCB, turn off disable entirely GCB, revoke that access. So ask for those things.
Remove it.
Yeah.
And we should probably end up with our process documenting these somewhere.
Yep.
Like here are the ones that were approved. Here's and are they okay to be turned on for any repo, or were they just approved for this particular repo, right? So we don't say, yeah, you can use it, but only in this one. We'd never want that turned on for this other one.
Yeah.
But then somebody later says, hey, it's already installed. I could just turn it on.
Right, exactly.
We will run into some complexity because we are going to probably have the two running on different branches for a little while until we get the everybody's okay that this is where we want to go. Because the problem with the website redesign effort right now is that a lot of threads were opened, and then there was a big gap of people just coming in and doing one or two things, and then there was really a gap. And then when we started to regroup, we were really just mostly new people showing up and saying, this needs to, we're excited, we want to do our part, and so we don't necessarily have a good continuation of our flow or continuum at this point.
Yeah.
So Yeah. But I guess the roadmap is clear. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have to turn them both off, like turn one on and one off. If just, as soon as it's reasonable, remove the GCP one. I keep wanting to say GCP. Yeah, turn that off as soon as you're done with it, basically, and like have that be removed. Since I am unfortunately in ComCom the only person with ownership as a member, I will be happy if you want to have that as part of your trigger for once we're done, Tierney can go turn it off. I'm happy to do that and take that responsibility, since the website stuff falls under ComCom. But yeah, I'm fine to do that if that's helpful.
So a last question. So if we do open up the issue in our repo, saying that we are going to do this, do you think we can aim for this hackathon this weekend to reference that issue in an issue in admin and just at least get Netlify on this one repo? Or is that
this weekend is probably going to be rough. You're probably going to. It's if you get broad consensus and approval, yes, in that time frame, in the next 36 hours, but I doubt that's going to happen. So I would definitely.
That's fine. Yeah. All right.
I wouldn't rush with that because the system right now is working. Or is there any issues? When I run the GCP, everything is fine actually.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the details of why over the hackathon.
Cool.
So there are split thoughts, right? But as always, it's up to the collective to decide. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone.
Cool. Yeah, thanks everyone. We're at time, so I'm gonna have us drop. One last thing: there are 2 PRs in ComCom, both relatively, hopefully trivial. So just if you can, please take a look. But otherwise, enjoy. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers. Nice weekend.